Hi, everybody. I'm Garrett.
And I'm Carolyn.
And we are Diary of a Family, and welcome to Technical Difficulties 101.
Our intro video didn't play. Do you want to try it again?
Probably do the same thing. Yep. In my haste to get everything set up for some reason.
That's okay. Technical difficulties happen.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
First, on a kind of a fun live stream. At least I think it will be fun.
We're hoping a lot of you join in.
Yeah, I've been trying to get the word out that we're doing this fun live stream today. Normally we've been doing, having interviews with other full-time families. Mm-hmm. But due to Carolyn's work schedule, it works a lot better for us to have it on the opposite week.
Yes.
And so instead of, and it actually worked out for our next guest who will be on next week, it actually worked out better for them because they're going through the middle of the Appalachians right now. So
it's kind of interesting when you're interviewing people who are full-time.
Yes.
They have to think about where they're going to be on that weekend that you're asking them to join you on your live stream.
Exactly.
And they have to have good internet and they have to have good connection or you're not going to get a good anyway.
Yeah, so it actually worked out really well for us. So we were like, what do we do for this meantime? And here's what we're going to do. We are a travel nurse family. I'm going to interview her.
I'm the interviewee tonight.
She is our resident nurse in this family.
He's been playing a little bit of nursing this week.
Oh gosh, I
had to go back to work yesterday and today. Hi, Grassroots Living.
Hi. Welcome.
They say, hey, hope everything is going well for you and your family. It's going fantastic.
Besides sick kids, it's actually going pretty well.
Yeah. So Edison came down with some sort of virus, I'm sure, because he's spiking low grade to mid grade temps. I think highest I've temped him at is 103.6 or something like that.
Yeah, he didn't get over a 101 today, so that was good.
So Daddy's been playing the nurse at home.
Yeah, 2 kids sick at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's not really fun. And then for some reason, Emma got some kind of a stomach bug. And so she threw up this afternoon, and just before she went into bed. So, yeah. Anyways.
Life with kids. Life with kids.
My word. It has been quite an interesting couple of days.
Yes.
And I think the kids are starting to adjust to this new lifestyle. They have been kind of getting, every time some new friends will come, they get so excited and they want to meet them wherever and blah, blah, blah.
We made new friends. I don't know what their names are, but we made new friends.
And then they leave. And then,
Emma is heartbroken.
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 This time, we had some kids that they met, and they left before Emma could say goodbye. And she didn't say a word.
Of course, she was sick, too. So.
She was sick, too, and wasn't feeling well, and all of that. Anyways, so let's get on with our interview. I'm sure you guys want to hear the questions I've come up with. Hopefully they will be good.
This is all his idea. He sprung it on me yesterday and said, hey, what do you think about this idea? I'm like, I'm game.
I think it will lead into what we're going to announce later on in the video. So don't go away. Stick tuned for that.
Yes.
So, all right, dear.
Okay.
When did you become interested in nursing?
So growing up, we lived on a farm, and I had 7 other siblings. I was second oldest. Mm-hmm. So there was some, helping mom with the younger kids as babies and young kids. But really, I was into animal husbandry. I loved caring for the animals, breeding rabbits, caring for chickens. We had larger animals as well. I was into horses. Mm-hmm. And when we had like cats come in with, bites or cuts or, having to treat animals with medication because that happens when you have a farm full of animals. I felt like I really like this. I like to help them. I like to doctor them, you know. So I thought, well, maybe I'll become a veterinarian. Found out they go through just about as much medical training as a doctor for a person. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I won't do that. And so actually I was drawn to, I became a lifeguard. And so being a first responder in essence at a local pool, I realized, I learned CPR and I'm super good at it. And I've learned how to rescue people from deep water, shallow water, you know, with spinal injuries, etc. I thought, well, maybe I should head towards the medical field. And so I was actually on swim team, an adult swim team, and one of the gentlemen on the team is a doctor, and he asked me, well, what are you doing with your life? You can't work at the pool the rest of your life. And by that time I was in my early 20s. And so I was like, okay, I guess I got to go back to school, because I got to go back to school to get a different kind of job. Yeah. He's like, just do something with your life. So I weighed the pros and cons. I knew I loved teaching because I'd been teaching swimming lessons at the YMCA. And then I weighed the pros and cons between teaching and nursing, and I just thought, it'll be easier if I don't like nursing to switch to an education track than vice versa. Yeah. So I just started doing the prerequisites for nursing school, and everything led into that, and it's my calling. It is a very hard job, but I am feeling so confident in who I am and how I can care for these very sick individuals in the hospital. Yeah. So
grassroots living, we'll get to that question after we're done talking with Carolyn. Okay. So
health insurance.
And how long did it take you from when you started school to when you got your degree in nursing?
Okay. So this will be a quicker question to answer. I did 2-year degree at a community college. During that 2 years to get my full degree, it was just an associate's of arts. I did the prerequisites I needed for nursing school. So technically, the prerequisites are usually just in your first year of nursing school. And I took 2 years, got a full degree, and then I transferred that to a university, Pacific Lutheran University. Anybody out there, a Lute? Whoop, whoop. My alma mater. Yeah. So I came in as a sophomore into their nursing program, and 3 years later had my degree. Yep. So in all, it took me 5 years. But you can do it in 3.
And we got married during your junior year?
Between my junior and senior year, we got married.
So Carolyn was finishing school up when we got married and had our first child just before she graduated.
Yes.
So there was a couple days where I was sitting in the car with a newborn and would take her into class with us so that she could. It. Yes, they absolutely.
My class loved it.
Nurses loving that. All right. What different fields have you worked in with nursing?
Prior to graduation, I did my what they call a preceptorship. So my senior year, you get assigned to one person at a hospital, and they basically train you on the job. By the end of your clinical rotation, you're doing a lot of the care with just a little bit of prompting underneath that RN's license. So I did that in labor and delivery because I was like big pregnant.
She can relate.
And I thought maybe I want to do that. I didn't get enough of it during my nursing schooling to know whether or not I would be a good labor and delivery nurse. I really enjoyed it after that experience, and then having my own baby, I thought, I could do this. But because I took a year off, no labor and delivery unit would hire me. So they
probably would have hired
experience.
You directly
directly out of nursing school, they probably would have hired me. But I had a brand new baby. Yeah. So I had several years where I had 2 children, we're raising them, and so I worked in the community basically for free. I was volunteering at all kinds of different areas. Yep. Did some home health stuff, did some community work.
We even started a health ministry, it's more like an EMT type first responder at our church.
A medical team where if you have CPR, AED experience.
It's nothing super big. It's something that anybody could just get the certifications and then be there. But, you know, that is the first few minutes of an incident is where someone could live or die.
We've had people collapse at church.
Yes.
So it was a good ministry to have, and we did respond several times, and kind of just to keep the flow going, and let's move them over here, and I need you to do CPR if we ever had to do it.
Yep.
And then giving report off to the EMTs when they got there, or even making that decision. Do we call 911? This person isn't feeling good. All right.
Isn't that ironic?
Truckin' hurts.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Isn't that ironic?
All right. So, after a few years, you were finally able to get a job.
Yep.
What field did you get it in, and how did that kind of work out?
So I got my first real job in a medical surgical unit.
Okay.
Small hospital, but large medical system. So we were kind of the redheaded stepchild to begin with when I joined, because they had just been taken over a year ago or a year or two prior to that by this big company. But they had turned this inside out. And I heard a lot of horror stories for when the hospital was on its own as a private hospital.
Yeah.
So we took everything that was not a critical care / not rule out for heart stuff.
Yeah.
So we took all kinds, ortho surgeries. We took GI rule outs and surgeries, like appendectomies and.
So it's mostly rehabilitation after surgery type.
Right. Pre-surgical and post-surgical, so you would be prepping patients. Say your grandma fell down and broke her hip. She would end up on our unit. We would be caring for her for pain, prepping her for surgery, making sure that she didn't eat, didn't drink, had pain management. And then post-surgery, she would come back to us, and we would keep that pain management going, making sure that she is doing fine. Physical therapy would be involved. And then 3 or 4 days later, we would be discharging her to skilled nursing facility. Yeah. So that's the surgical side. And then we would take medical patients as well. So pneumonia, flu, I'm trying to think, COPD exacerbation, CHF, a lot of those, if they have an infection anywhere, cellulitis or a bloodstream infection, and they weren't super critical, we would be doing the IV antibiotics.
Yeah. He, Trucker and Hertz said, newborn baby and the job prospect. LOL. Yes, that was very ironic. Yeah. It was that really weird conundrum with some jobs where they won't hire you without experience, but how do you get experience unless you get hired?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're like, oh, well, you just got to get in when we're hiring all the new people, new graduates. And you're like,
so
really? And they're like, we need all this help. Like, really?
Yeah.
You can...
Big bottleneck there.
Yeah.
I think hospitals are getting better at hiring new grads, giving them a chance. But it is expensive because you have to put them through more training than a nurse who's had experience. So I stayed with that company for almost 5 years. On the unit, I spent 3.5.
Yeah.
And then I switched over to an educator role. They called me a clinical nurse coach. And it was still with the unit that I had worked with before, so still my area of expertise. Yeah. And so anything new, I would have to learn first and then teach. Anything changing, I'd have to make sure that, everybody was trained, everybody signed off, that this is different, you have to do it this way. And then they actually opened a new facility
she got to help open up a new hospital.
Oh, basically, they told me 2 months before it opened, 3 months before it opened, guess what? You're in charge of training these nurses. And I'm like, I did have a lot of help from our education department in that I was basically just administration, kind of just making sure that everything got covered. I didn't actually teach the nurses.
Yeah. But that's still, the amount of work she was doing when they were opening that hospital was nuts.
50 plus hours a week.
Yeah, it was. We were glad that all of that is now a job in the past.
It
The
It was
amount
pretty stressful.
the amount of stress that job brought on was pretty bad.
I mean, the stress that I go through on the floor, it's different. It's like you have the stress for a period of time.
But
12,
you know once you
13
hand
hours.
that patient off, you can say, done, bye.
Right. I don't
I'm
need to worry
going
about
home.
it. I can go home.
Yes, exactly.
And whereas the job I had was an ongoing, constant, like nothing was ever finished. And I need to know that I'm finished.
Yeah.
A-type, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Check off all the boxes. Anybody like that? Am I just the only one? I have to make sure everything's in a row. I've done all my documentation. Anyway.
I'm a little more flowy. Anyways. Flowy. But don't they say opposites attract or something like that?
Something like that.
So out of all those positions you have had, which do you think was your favorite position? Like in the different fields that you've worked in?
Oh, okay.
I'll make it more simple, not just this actual unit, but just kind of the field.
I feel like in each of those periods of time, I enjoyed it. When I was doing community work, I had that feeling like, but I'm not a real nurse.
Yeah.
That's not the case. Yes, I wasn't being paid for a job usually.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a nurse and I was growing in my critical thinking.
Yeah.
Not as quickly as I did in the acute care setting. But I loved all of the fields at that time, but now looking back, I wouldn't want to go back to labor and delivery.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not me now. I am definitely a med-surg nurse. If anything, I would want to go further into critical care nursing, maybe focusing on cardiac nursing, which before I was like, no. You learn and experience a certain area of medicine, and then you realize that there's so much more over here that you only have just barely tapped into.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, if I go over to this field, I'm like a baby nurse again almost.
It's like following the rabbit hole. It's pretty crazy.
So for some people, they're like, no, I never want to get out of my comfort zone. I want to stay right here and never grow any bigger because I'm happy here.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to that point where it was like, I'm ready for more. I need more. And I think that's what really finally pushed me to this point where we were like, let's do travel nursing. Whereas before I was terrified.
Yeah. So Trucker Hertz says, by the way, I have my own scrubs, long-term loan from my hospital stays after low back surgeries.
That's great.
You've had 6 low back surgeries? Oof.
That's a lot.
That's
more power to
you. Are you a full-time long-haul trucker? I'm wondering if that's why you're having the low back issues. I must have great credit with the hospital.
He's using his critical thinking skills.
I've had to use it with all the stuff I've dealt with kids lately. Okay.
Man, I didn't even draw that conclusion.
Well,
Truck and Hertz, are you a long haul trucker? That's what Garrett's question is to you.
Okay, as we wait for the answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have been working as a travel nurse for a couple weeks now. You kind of started to get in the flow. What are your thoughts about travel nursing so far?
That there's so much more that I need to experience before I can actually draw a conclusion.
So are you saying like a couple more months at this position, or do you think a couple more hospitals?
I think a couple more hospitals. I'm getting the sense that every hospital is going to be so different, so foreign, until I've experienced multiple, and then I'll start to see that there are themes. Like my hospital in Washington and the hospital here in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It's like nursing culture shock.
It is.
That's what I'm going to call it. Nursing culture shock.
Nursing
is nursing. Night and day. The patient care
is pretty
much the same. But like, for instance, we stopped doing IV piggyback antibiotics a long time ago in Washington, and everything's run through the pump, and you program the pump by scanning the medication and scanning the pump, and everything is, you don't do any calculations on your own or anything like that.
Computer does it for you. And
then I come to this hospital, and I had to quickly relearn how to do an IV piggyback, and I'm like, some of the meds don't scan, and you have to like type in a number, and I'm like, how crazy is this? Like, this is asking for a med error. It's not.
Yeah.
It's. I don't know. I guess in a way, technology has taken over a lot of the nursing tasks.
Okay.
To the point where, hi, Philip.
Philip, welcome. He is one of our good friends. He was
I got distracted in the middle of my sentence.
He was a groomsman in my wedding, and he's been one of our closest friends.
Yes.
Since we got married.
Yeah. Philip and Becca Holcomb and
so,
their son.
Truck and Hurt said, close. Local driver hauled rental construction equipment for about 12 years. Disabled now with all the scar tissue and nerve damage.
I believe it.
Hopefully life is a little more relaxed for you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know how to haul things. Maybe not close to to what you did for 12 years, but, we're learning. Linda has joined us. You were never too late to join the party.
Never too late. Linda, I think you've been on almost every single one of our live streams.
How do we put most valued...
Truck and Hurt says, my 3 bottom levels are fused now. Mm-hmm. It's been quite a process from 1999 to 2014. So definitely you've been out, what is it, 5 years now from surgery, but probably still dealing with a lot of chronic pain.
Linda, never tardy to the party. I'm trying to... That's a good laugh for...
NTP. Never tardy to the party. Okay.
All right.
I love it. She says, I've missed a few, but I try to get on.
Thank you.
I love it. We love the support, Linda. We really do.
Yes.
And you bring great questions and comments to the feed.
Okay. So, what do you think the best thing about being a travel nurse is so far in your experience?
Getting to experience other locations.
Yeah.
And the in-the-moment growth.
Uh-huh.
I mean, even like today, I was almost in tears. I don't know how to do this, and the charge nurse is busy, and he keeps putting me off, and then finally I was like, look, I don't know how to do this. You need to walk me through it. I've never been shown. And once he did one for me, I was like, okay, now watch me do it. And now I've got it. Okay.
Yeah.
But just feeling at the end of the day like, hey, I learned how to do X, Y, and Z, And then
more
seeing,
things you know how to do.
Seeing my patients, and the patients are different here. It's really funny.
Yeah.
But again, back to that nursing culture shock. But, it's fun. It really is fun if you're not afraid of change and like in the moment growth.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. And what has been the worst experience so far with travel nursing?
Worst experience has been the nightmare of charting with the system that they have. Do you want to tell them a little bit about the differences between the two systems? Because you've gone on some epic rants before with it, but is there a way to put it in? I don't know how to even. Nurses will get this though. You've got some charting systems that are like everything's laid out. It's all like line items, and you just fill in the blanks where you want to fill it in, and you can see the last filing because it's under like times. That's the Epic system that I'm used to. And then this system is more of like here's all your tasks, and now just click on the task and put in your information, but you don't see anything that anybody else is putting in unless you get out of there and go into the chart and click in here, and hopefully you can find it it's a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then the fact that we never did consults for the doctors and put in a whole bunch of meds for the doctors. They always did it for themselves. They were the ones communicating, and all the orders, once the order was in the computer, somebody else in another department
and now
sees
you're
it.
doing all of it.
And now I'm like this glorified secretary.
I was like, you can't have someone else that could just input those things on the doctor's behalf, like an assistant or something?
So the doctor puts in the order to consult another doctor in a specialty, and then you have to go call that specialty doctor to have them consulted. It's like, What? Anyway, so Linda Rose, what did she say earlier? Good standing up for yourself. There is never a dumb question, especially for being a nurse. I mean, basically, I have that card, the I'm new here card. I can use it
she's
every single
A-type.
day.
She will go up to anybody. I'm one of those that I'll be like, okay, I'll wait for the right time to come in and ask the question. She's like, hey, I need the question answered. And you're like, okay. Woo.
I'm not that mean. Today, I tapped the charge nurse on the shoulder to get his attention because he was talking to somebody else. No, he's like, what did he say? It was. He's basically telling me that I tap so lightly, like, I don't know, a butterfly or something like that. But yeah, so it basically, me standing up for myself is standing up for my patients. If I don't know how to do something, I have got, I have all these tasks I have to complete, and if I can't get from A to Z because I'm missing several parts, I've got to get those parts. So.
Yeah. So let's see.
Got a lot of comments. Garrett's going to catch up.
Grassroots Living asked, will we be able to be a traveling nurse in all 50 states? We will see.
Could.
We're going to try and hit as many.
Would take years.
Yeah, we're going to try and hit as many states as we can as we go between locations, and we have very broad ideas of kind of how we want to make it work, but we haven't.
I think at this point our goal is to see 56 states.
Yes,
if we can. Whether or
we're
not
going to
I
look
work
at
in
see
each
if we
state.
can maybe possibly rent like a Class C or something, if they have some way to do that on like Hawaii. We'd love to go back, but it's not going to be feasible for us to take this back, and there's no trailers on the islands anyways.
I can see how other families have talked about possibly doing the travel nursing in other locations that they can't take their travel trailers in. I think opting out No Ordinary Path.
Yeah.
I think they've kind of alluded to maybe in the future spots that they want to do travel nursing in that it's like urban, and so they just couldn't take their trailer
So
there.
they'd have to put in storage or something.
Hawaii and Alaska, we'd love to go there, but
maybe we could drive up to Alaska in our trailer.
But I wouldn't want to work. I'd want to do it for two months.
And just graduate high school. In fact, I might just follow you guys around in case.
Just in case you need a nurse.
She's not a surgeon. But Linda said 17 clicks later, just to make sure you didn't do something that you already
that was already
that was already done.
Mm-hmm. Somebody gave me a paper that she'd created, and I need to revise it because I just need to revise it for myself.
Yeah. And
it's basically a line for each of the charting for each of the patients, and you have like what documentation has to be done at what times. And I check off the boxes so that I don't have to go back into the chart and try desperately to decide, did I get that charting done?
Yeah.
Or is it missing?
So before we forget about the original question that Grassroots Living asked before everybody jumped on. What are we doing for health insurance? That was the question they had.
Why don't you start answering that? Because I think you know more about it.
Our vision, we're actually taking through her work.
Did we pick up Vision 2? I can't remember.
I believe we did.
Okay.
We picked two different plans, and one was Vision and one was
Okay.
And then we went through a health share program called Christian Healthcare Ministries, and that is for more the catastrophic care, medical,
it's
catastrophic bill sharing program. And then we have a supplemental program.
It's not an insurance, and any of you can sign up for it.
Anybody could sign up for it. RV Health.
RVHealth.com, right?
Yep.
And it's like, what is it? Is it $24 a month?
$24 a month, and it provides like 40% off certain items like appointments and
it's
things like that.
It's money off of certain medical and dental things.
Yes.
Although if you're in Washington State, they don't cover dental. So
Washington and Vermont.
So we have for that for the RV health, we actually are using his sister's address in North Carolina so we can get money off of our dental.
Yeah.
Which is silly because now we decided to get that insurance through my work for dental.
But you know,
anyway,
if we don't use that program,
it's
not beneficial
to
for us. We can always just cancel it. So
it's specific to RVers. A lot of it is like online. I haven't actually tried it yet. The last health insurance we had, you could get an appointment with a doctor online.
Yeah.
So it's geared for people who are not necessarily in their area for a long time. So yeah. We can put the information in the link, the description below.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Chucker Hertz asked where was it? Where are we from originally? We are, well, if you want to go back to my origin.
His place of birth is California, and
mine
is Washington.
I was born in California, but I moved up to Washington State when I was 1. Pretty much lived there all my life, and
I've been a Washingtonian my whole life.
Yep.
Lived in Oregon for a couple of years.
And then we became full-time RVers back in September of last year. And now we are in Louis, boy, not like you West Virginians.
Oh, Grassroots Living says we use CHM as well.
It seemed like the best medical share program that they have. So
we just got signed up for it. So I mean, you haven't even completed all the paperwork.
I have to send an affidavit thing in.
Yeah.
So we'll get
we
that
really haven't even experienced it yet, but it seemed like the best. We looked at Samaritan's Ministry and we looked at MediShare. But I think we're going to be happy with CHM. And it was a lot less expensive than going through my company. Like, we were going to spend almost $2,000 for the entire family. And now I think we're going to spend, like, less than $800.
Yep.
So.
And honestly, it was one of those things. It was really nice to have health care through Tammy and Scott, Where to Wander To.
Oh, hi, guys.
Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. Check out their channel, Where to Wander To.
All right. Were we finishing up healthcare? I think we were.
Yeah. Did you have any more questions for me? Garrett has been interviewing me.
Yep.
For those of you who joined us.
We are interviewing her as a nurse. So.
Like, seriously, I walked in the door and 8 minutes later we were live.
Yeah.
I had enough time to strip off my things.
Get a little calories in you. Yeah. Okay. So for people that are considering full-time travel nursing, what is one piece of advice you would have for them? Like the biggest one, because I know there's probably like 100 little ones, but one big one.
Overall, the biggest one. And then I guess the other one would be kind of a secondary one.
Yeah, she's the special guest.
I'm a very special guest.
No, X marks the spot joined us. So.
Great to see you guys. Is Carolyn the special guest? Yes, I am.
Yeah. 10 people watching.
10 people watching.
Wow, they're on a roll.
So the secondary thing I would say if you're thinking about doing travel nursing is decide how you want to do it.
Yes, there's lots of ways.
This is not the only way to do it in a travel trailer.
Yeah.
But there are other ways to do it. You can take your family along, or you can not. You can go away for. I've heard of people doing it 3 months and then going home and then going away. That's hard when you have young kids, but maybe less so if you just have a spouse and that spouse can fly out to visit you wherever you're at. Or I'm working with some nurses. I'm working with a nurse who is from this area, and she stays at her mom's house on the days she works here, and then she drives the hour and a half back home. She's from Louisiana, and she's doing she's working with a travel nurse company and just taking jobs in Louisiana.
Yeah. Scott and Tammy asked, what about CNA jobs traveling?
Oh, yeah. I haven't met any, but I do know that there are other medical professions.
There's like techs and there's CNAs. There's all kinds of positions.
I'm not sure about CNAs. I would have to do a little bit more research, but I have heard of respiratory therapists and technicians who, like radiology technicians, also traveling. I've met doctors who they have their home hospital that they work at, but then what's it called? It's not travel doctoring. It's something else. And then they come for like 2 weeks and work at the hospital in another state, and then fly home for the week that they're off, or back and forth. So
yeah. Yep. X Marks the Spot was a travel nurse. He, I think it was she, worked in 6 states in 2 years as a travel nurse. We do plan on having X Marks the Spot on our
awesome. So we'll get to
on
know
our show
about them more
soon. So
yes.
Stay tuned for that. We'd love to hear their stories and their adventures that they have as well.
Okay, good. I'm excited. Garrett has been lining up all our guest speakers.
Yep.
But if you are interested in being interviewed, please definitely email us at rvdiaryofafamily
@gmail.com. Yep.
Or message us on any one of
Wayward
the...
Wags said, I had several RV travel RNs who worked in the float pool I managed when I was working. We used Medical Solutions. Have you done any travel work for them?
Medical Solutions? I have not. I'm working with Atlas.
Yep.
John Farnsworth from No Ordinary Path. This is his company, and actually I'm working with his rep as well.
Yeah. They've been fantastic.
He had worked with 2 different companies, this one and another one, and just really highly recommended, in one of his videos, highly recommended Atlas. And it was during a time where I was like, what do I do? How do I get into it? We're like at the cusp. We've sold our house. We're sitting in Washington. It's cold here. We want to get moving.
Yep.
So I was emailing him, John, how do I do this? And he was very helpful. So we're planning to have No Ordinary Path on the show at some point as well.
Yep. Well, we're in initial process of communications with that. So do we have you met the continuing education requirements for Louisiana?
So the continuing education, and it goes from state to state, but usually you have like a time that you have to get it done. In Washington, it was 3-year segments, and you had to do like 42 hours of continuing education in that 3 hours, a 3-year period. Plus you had to have worked like at least 500 hours or something like that, actually worked as a nurse.
Yeah.
And then it's more of like an audit. So I've never actually been audited. I keep track of that. So I'm only here in Louisiana for 3 months. And all that was required for me to do was to get my license. And they had things that I had to do to get it. That was definitely interesting. And it's a whole different video in itself. I got my Texas license, I got my Louisiana license, and both of them were completely different experiences.
Yeah.
I would say Texas took longer but was easier, better, and Louisiana took a lot less time but was fraught with many times where I was pulling my hair out, and it's very expensive.
So talking about other videos. Question for you guys watching us.
Oh, Wayward. Hold on. Let me answer Wayward Wigs. Wayward Wigs says, hi, Linda. Wayward Wigs asks, 13-week contracts with Atlas? Yes. So I started April 4th, and I'll be done by June 29th, I believe. Something like that. They said, sorry if I missed you talking about that earlier. We just tuned in. No, I hadn't talked about that. So thank you for bringing that question up. That's very, very good. I haven't really talked much about Atlas, but
yeah, Linda. Most of the requirements so far, because we tried to get our licensing in Texas, because we were initially going there, hoping to get there, and the requirements there were very different than what Louisiana.
Very different.
Yeah. You were able to get like a full license. We were fully licensed in Texas
before we left Washington State. Yeah.
And for Carolyn to get her licensing here was like...
Louisiana said, oh, you have to have a Louisiana address. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So she's been down to Baton Rouge, and we haven't. So...
we pulled in on a Sunday night, and I left at 5 a.m. Monday morning and drove
was...
4 hours to Baton Rouge.
Yep.
For 25 minutes at the State Board of Nursing. Did what I had to do there, fingerprinting and stuff. And before I even got home, the 4-hour drive home, it already said that I had so I got a temporary license and pending me getting the rest of my paperwork in.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny.
X marks the spot. Ash, no compact license.
Okay, so here's how the compact license works. And for those of you who don't know what that is, there's states now.
It's almost a national
20.
agreement.
It's like 30 of the states. It's a national agreement that if you are in a state that is part of the compact licensure, you hold that state license and you can go travel and work in any of the other states
without having to get that state's license.
You just work under. So, for instance, Texas is a compact license state. So if you're a resident of Texas, you have the compact license, and you can travel to Louisiana. Well, not yet. Louisiana is in process, almost there. Within the next few months, they'll be compact. But you can go to any of the other compact states.
Well, and Washington State has started the process of
I need to go back online and check.
I really hope that they do it, because
sounded
then
like
we
it
could
was
do
in
it
legislation, and you know how long legislation takes.
Yeah, I know.
And you know how Washington deals with nurses and legislation.
I know.
We just play cards.
Hey, welcome, Dr. Wood.
Hi, Dr. Wood.
You're never too late. Never too late, as always.
I was thinking about you the other day.
I was harassing him today on the.
Oh, were you?
I was text messaging him.
Dr. Wood, join our live stream.
I'm interviewing Carolyn today. You should really join in. Thank you.
Done any good hikes lately? That's my question to Dr. Wood.
So,
okay.
Truck and Hurt said, "This isn't fair. I was always coming off of anesthesia when dealing with the nurses. I don't have any good questions like show off X."
Oh, X marks the spot is showing you up. No,
not at all. Not at all.
Let's see.
So it is. Linda, if you're thinking like reciprocity, like a concealed carry permit for a handgun, it is similar to that. Mm-hmm. So you just have to know what states your license is good with, and then you don't have to deal with all the extra paperwork for that. But really and truly, we're able to get a temporary license and then your permanent license, right?
It's really going to save nurses a lot of time, a lot of money and time, to have a compact state license. Washington is working on legislation right now. Once that comes into play, then I will be able to get a compact license. Yeah. The only other way I can get a compact license is if we change our domicile state, which is why we got the Texas license first. Because we were planning to change it to Texas being our domicile state. But due to tax reasons, it was better for us to just keep our Washington address for now until we can find somebody down in Texas to.
Linda said, "Yeah, and I really wish you would teach us all how to play Go Fish." Do you really want to go down to that one?
Okay, wasn't that no? Last Sunday, if you don't know what we're talking about,
a week and a half ago.
The card playing stuff. Last week, I talked about it on our live stream. Senator Walsh
from Washington
State ate her words.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of follow-up comments and articles about that. The funniest one, I saw a picture of her in her office, I think, surrounded by boxes of playing cards.
1,200?
1,700 playing cards have been mailed
cards
to
or
her.
Decks of
cards? Decks of cards.
So 1,700 times 32, you do the math.
So, I mean, some people were sending her whole cases of playing cards. Yeah.
So, X marks the spot. The only reason we haven't changed our domicile to Texas, and we really would love to, because we actually like the homeschooling laws down here.
Less taxes.
The less taxes.
It's not a liberal state.
Is how the tax-free system works for travelers.
So I get money for travel expenses. I get money for housing and food. Those stipends, I could not get tax-free if I wasn't keeping up a tax home.
Yes.
And so we're paying my parents rent and keeping their address. If we knew somebody down in Texas and could pay them rent, we would totally change our address to Texas.
Yeah. I know. And who knows, maybe one of these days we'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, hopefully the money will be able to go towards getting a RV pad on your parents' property so that once we're back in town for a month, we can just park it there.
My parents are keeping that money in an account, and then we'll upgrade their property with that RV pad.
Yeah.
That's the plan at this point. If they need money desperately, then we'll say use it. But
yes, Linda, they did send cards. She has a picture of her standing next to boxes.
I know.
And
I don't
boxes
know
of
if I forwarded that one on my reshared
Facebook.
it on my Facebook. It's been so funny.
There's some internal conversation going on between
X marks the
Wayward
spot.
Labs and Linda.
Escapees, Livington, Texas. Yeah, we were planning on escapees, but
Yes.
the deal with the money that I'm getting for stipend for housing,
We're getting
if
like
you're not
$500-600 a month
if
tax free because of
it's more than that.
Okay.
Per month. It's per week.
Per week.
Per week, we're getting like $400 per week for.
Yes.
Okay, we have to be paying a landlord or keeping up a home in our original state to get that money tax free. So it's either pay a landlord or pay Uncle Sam is basically the tax.
That's how that works with our kind of job. If we ended up going into some other field that we weren't getting
a per diem, a stipend, we wouldn't need to keep up a tax home in Washington.
Yeah, Melinda, how the per diem works for the nursing, like if we just up and left and just say, hey, this is our new domicile, but we didn't have an actual home, a court could actually, they could audit us and say, hey, you need to prove that you have a housing allowance so that you can get this tax-free or you have to pay taxes on it. And we did a whole lot of research and checked out a couple other YouTube channels and blogs and websites on this specific issue.
I'm going to see if I can find it. There's a travel tax.
Travel tax, yeah.
I'm gonna
so as she looks at that, question for all of you guys joining us.
Traveltax.com.
Hold on.
Yes, traveltax.com. We got all of our information about what was required for travel medical professionals.
Yeah.
Medical professionals. And so check that out if you are planning to do traveling and you want to understand tax homes and that traveltax.com.
Hey Chris, is it cold up there at the Arctic Circle?
Oh.
Gifford's on the go. For a quick overview for you guys, he is working on an oil platform up in the Arctic Circle. Mm-hmm. So he is I would be fine up there, I think.
You won't catch me dead. Well, you would probably find me dead in the Arctic Circle.
Yes, and that's the most current tax laws, Linda, as far as we're aware of. That's the current laws.
Yep.
So.
Yep, you can't take that
32
per diem.
Degrees,
The per diem is supposed to cover your extra expense.
Yes.
So they're thinking of normal travelers. So you have a home or you rent and you're keeping that place because you're going for 3 months and then you're coming back to it.
Yeah.
And so you have an extra expense now of living in the other location for 3 months. And so that stipend is to cover that. And the only way it can be tax-free is if you actually have a double payment.
Yeah. So Chris said that it is not on a platform. It is in the oil field.
Okay. What is that called? Because they do oil fields here too, right?
Yes.
You used that term the other day. What is that called?
Well, there's a few different types. One is fracking.
Okay. That's what we're seeing around
shelling, something like that. I'll probably get an answer in about 2 minutes from Chris.
Chris will tell us.
Okay, so let me get this question out before I get interrupted again. Should Carolyn start her own segment on our channel to directly talking about nurses and travel nursing? Let us know what you guys think.
So some of these topics I would end up making just a whole video of my experience on different travel nursing topics.
Shale.
Louisiana, known for their oil.
Yeah. We're in everybody out on trailers out here. They're all oil
working
workers.
In the oil fields.
Emma and Timmy and our kids are just like, we want to play with other kids. And
there are no kids.
There's no kids here. They're all oil workers.
Yep.
Yes, it is a 32 degrees up at the Arctic Circle, and it is quite balmy up there and warm. I'm sure it probably 32 degrees up there probably feels really warm.
Checkenhurt says climate change for the win. For the win.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Linda says yes, you should collab with No Ordinary Path on a few too.
I'm so excited about interviewing them. And it's really funny because we almost ended up in Reno, and that's where they are right now. We would have been almost simultaneously there. So maybe not at the same hospital, but...
you want to tell them how close we came to taking a job in Reno? 5 minutes?
Hours.
Hours?
So we weren't getting hits in Texas at all. The Texas hospitals were like, you don't have prior experience as a travel nurse, even though you have 8 years of experience as a nurse. We don't want you. So they were not biting. And so this is my last week of work. I had already turned in my notice. This was Monday. My rep calls and she's like, look, Texas isn't really biting. Here's 2 options. Reno and Louisiana, Shreveport. Shreveport's actually pretty close to where we were put in an application in Tyler, Texas. And I said, okay, go ahead and put me in for those 2 locations. The very next day, Shreveport had already accepted me, had said, we want her. They didn't even interview me over the phone.
Yeah.
5 minutes after, so several hours later, I get the paperwork on the phone. 5 minutes after I signed the paperwork for the contract for Shreveport, Reno calls me for an interview. That's how close it was. If Reno had jumped just a little bit faster, we probably would have ended up in Reno because it's closer to Washington
And that
State.
would have taken our 3,000-mile, 8-day marathon sprint across the country into a 2-day trip down to Reno.
Garrett can put that link up
I'll put it at the end of the video so you can go check that out.
It's about 24-minute long video, but it spans the entire 8-day trip
and all the states we went through.
He's done a beautiful job of putting that all together in a really delightful. I enjoyed watching it. A delightful video.
Yeah, and we still have subjects that we need to talk about from that video. Parks with Jeremy and Kim involved with the church we're going to.
It's been
fantastic.
So great. I've had less culture shock within the community as I've had within the nursing in the hospital. The people are so friendly, and we've felt at home. We've gotten the kids involved in several things so that they have kid interaction, since we're not really seeing it much in the...
See ya. See you later.
Linda, you said something about hauling butt over...
Yeah, you guys wouldn't have had to haul butt across the country.
So, I'm glad that we did. I mean, we were led to this point, really, we were.
Yeah.
So.
And I even have a cousin that works in Reno. Yeah. So, anyways.
Maybe we'll be back in that direction
Our plans are... We can probably actually just talk about that now.
We can lead into the plans.
So where do you think we will be heading to next? We kind of have a few items in mind. Or locations.
In hauling butt, like Linda said, across all of the the western side and down the southern side. We really felt like, man, I wish we weren't just driving through. That's all we're doing. And then staying a few hours to sleep and driving through.
For some reason I loved New Mexico.
Yeah.
I did. It's flat, but it's high desert. There was so many amazing stuff. We just had to just drive right through, and we're like, we want to stop.
Thinking about the elevation and how we're going to be there during the summertime for the next contract, we're thinking we could probably tolerate New Mexico or Arizona in like the high
elevation areas.
If you think we're absolutely nuts and we should move to a different location, let us know.
Yeah.
We're up for it. But we are going to kind of start heading back towards the West Coast so that by next May we'll be back in Washington State.
Yep.
And then we have great plans.
So we have at least another 1, possibly 2 contracts.
We have a summer contract, and then we'll be in New Mexico for the Balloon Fiesta.
Yep.
And then we'll have a fall-winter, through the Christmas season. And then we'll probably, I don't know if we'll have a time for another contract before heading back to Washington State.
Yeah.
But
we'll play it by ear. But our plans, we have some specific plans that's going to take us to a certain area. And then, but after that, we're still kind of flexible, and there's still a lot of the country we haven't seen. Yeah. So, and then we have plans possibly for next year, but...
Can you take care of our interview here? Your interviewee is leaving to take care of the baby.
All right, so... Yeah, I'm really looking forward to being able to kind of check out different places. We're hoping to have at least 2 to 3 weeks between contracts from this job to the next one. And we hope to hit like some of the Gulf towns. And we have some friends in Arizona that we want to say hi to as well. So that is our plans. We want to kind of leisurely head back and get some nice experience and travel while we are there. So, oh, buddy, bud. Yeah. Someone's not feeling good here.
You guys get to watch me do some nursing.
Yeah. Okay.
My nursing experience really goes towards adults.
Yeah.
Not the pediatric, but I'm not afraid of the pediatric nursing when it comes to basic illnesses.
It's okay, buddy.
Hey, buddy. No.
Get you some num-nums?
Yeah.
I know, it's kind of bright for you.
He's gonna keep crying.
Yeah.
Oh. I'll take him to the other room.
So yeah, I mean, after that we have... After the Balloon Fiesta, everything is pretty wide open for us. So, one of the things we're looking at doing, we're getting a new video. Let me talk about the new video real quick. So, oh my. So, we have a new video coming out on Wednesday, which is when we normally release our video. And, Carolyn recently had her birthday, so we went and had a fun quick day trip into Texas. So I'll go ahead and show you guys that on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. Truck and Hurt said I drove for two different long haul companies. Driving through was the norm, but I was driving my wandering mind, always picturing the scenery 100 years ago. Always picturing horse and rider up on the flats. I know. What's funny is because we have kids, I was actually I think I listened to this Cars soundtrack like 3 times in a row driving through New Mexico. The kids were like, I want to listen to Cars. I want to listen to Cars. So I was like, well, okay. Anyways, we were had a fun time for sure, and we definitely will be checking things out as we keep going. Hopefully we're going to be picking stuff closer and closer. So we have a bunch of other videos that we're working on coming out with. A couple how-to videos. We just recently did a video, last week's video, how to clean your water after you have to go through like a mandatory boil. We just recently went through one a couple weeks ago. So we went over our tips on how to get your water clean again if you have to go through one of those. One of the biggest tips, plan ahead. If you know that you're going to an area that doesn't have good water, don't. So, okay, Lynn, we do the same thing sometimes when we travel. Try to imagine what it might be like to be back in the 1700s going across the country. Yeah, for us people that travel and drive across the country and do all that kind of stuff, it definitely is something that you always wonder. I mean, some of these amazing vistas, like who? Is it still going? Huh. It still shows that the feed is going. I don't know what's going on. If it's still going, let me know. Is it still on? Well, someone said that they lost the feed, but it's showing that it's still there. Sorry, I'm kind of going off trail. So, I mean, honestly, like if you think about like the people that have traveled in the 1700s, you know, the people that how seeing the Grand Canyon for the first time, or seeing Carlsbad Caverns or anything like that for the first time, that would have been absolutely amazing. Can you imagine, Garrett, how long your 8-day trip would have taken in a horse and carriage? 8 months? Maybe? 6 months? I can't remember. I'm trying to remember what the Oregon Trail...
Did you ask me a question?
No. Linda asked if I could imagine what it's like to do our 8-day trip on a horse and carriage.
Ooh, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we did.
All right, good. Glad that it's still on. So so I think everyone thinks to likes the idea of you having a segment.
All right.
So I have an idea of a name for her segment.
If you guys can come up with a funnier one, we'll take it.
Yeah.
But he's come up with a pretty funny one.
I think it should be, please describe the pain. If you've been a nurse or been in the hospital, you know exactly
that one's
what
for
that...
you, Truckin' Hurts.
Yes. That is our tentative title for her series. Oh, Linda said it should be Carolyn's Corner.
I think I came up with that one, but Garrett came up with a funnier one.
A No Ordinary Path. They were like, was it Takeover Tuesday?
Takeover Tuesday, and so John does his Takeover Tuesday
Where does it hurt?
Where does it hurt? Yeah, where does it hurt? I can tell you, a lot of what I've gone through hurt. Not physically, but, well, a little bit physically.
Yeah.
I had a desk job for a year and a half before coming here.
Oh, but...
Oh.
Yeah, he's got this nasty croup thing. Not croup, but it's just this cough that's been in his lungs, which makes it terrible. Years late, fast brain, slow fingers. Yes, yeah, I understand. I have the fat fingers syndrome, so sometimes
He
I sent
auto-corrected, yes. Tell him
so
the text you sent to me.
I sent a text to
He's
Carolyn this
updating me.
afternoon, and I said, Eddie, our little boy, has a low-grade fever. I gave him 5 milliliters of a cinnamon offend.
A cinnamon.
A cinnamon offend.
Instead of
acetaminophen.
acetaminophen. You should have just said Tylenol.
Yeah, Linda's thinking the Louisiana pollen and humidity is not agreeing with them.
It's more than that. It's got to be a virus as well.
Yeah.
He's been running the fevers, and now he's got a little bit green goopy in his eye.
Yeah. Yeah, Tylenol. Yeah.
I know that the pollen did affect all 5 of us.
We got here where the pollen was really. I mean, it was
our cars
like
were yellow.
Yeah, our cars were different color. We would wash it off, and 10 minutes later, it would be covered. It's really the pollen here is a whole lot less. It's pretty much done for the most part. The pollen in this region. But I mean, so far, besides nothing like pollen in the south, right? I'll just wait till they kids have been living in Atlanta for 18 years, and it's terrible. Yes, it is. The kids have not really experienced the southern humidity and heat yet. We've had a couple days that has been in the 80s, 85-ish, and about 60% humidity. But really and truly, that is not bad here. I've spent a couple months in Georgia, and I went in the end of August, and it was 98 to 100 degrees with 100% humidity for at least a month or two. The joys of experience other parts of this country. He has not really been affected too much by the change in the temperature and humidity, so we're kind of thinking it's some kind of a virus. We go to a small group for families. Yeah, I hope he feels better soon. He should be back to sleep in a few minutes. Trucker in Hertz said, "Funky fingers unite." Poor little rascal. Hopefully he feels better soon.
Oh, wow.
Not that terrible. Georgia is terrible. If you did the end of August, yep, humidity is terrible. Hope he gets better soon. Yes, pretty much we'll probably be experiencing the front end of summer before we leave. So I mean, we'll be like really hot, and then we'll head west probably to a drier climate, and
drier
hopefully
heat.
that'll make it so.
We've been using our ACs, so we know they work.
They do work.
We didn't use them at all in Washington because we bought the rig in October and left in March.
We use the furnace, and we use the fireplace and the space heaters.
Yeah. Another reason to head back towards Arizona area is we still have some warranty work to get done on the trailer.
Yeah, and the company that we bought our trailer from, RV Country, has a bunch of dealerships in Arizona. So we will, if we can get a plan within driving distance or something there, we'll probably go at least on a couple days off or something and go to an area where we can get it done.
Gotta take care of our baby.
Yeah.
Yes, it will come in handy to have an AC. Well, dear, did you have any more questions? Because I'm seeing we're having some people drop off. It is getting later. I'm exhausted.
No, that was
12-hour shift.
Please describe the pain was the last thing I had.
Please describe the pain. And the other comment, the other suggestion was
tell me where it hurts. Or
where does it hurt?
Where does it hurt?
Where does it hurt? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we will go and sign off. Thank you guys so much for joining.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun having all of you join us. Chuck and Hertz, shout out to you because I don't believe you've joined one of our live streams and commented, and it was a lot of fun to have you on. What else? Join in next week. Hopefully we'll have another wonderful couple on who are full-time.
And we met them in Washington.
We did, as they were traveling through, and they'd only been on the road 2 months when they met us.
And they've been breakneck speed the whole time. They haven't even slowed down.
They did have to a little while ago because they had their trailer in the shop.
Yeah. So, Truck and Hertz, we have a 40-foot Grand Design.
We haven't done a tour video yet, so that's something we've got to shoot. Yeah.
So it is a 30.
He's typing it in.
3740 BH is our.
You can look at the floor plans.
Yep. And it is a 40-foot bunkhouse. It's about 16,000 pounds.
A lot more space than the Highland Ridge we had
at
the beginning of our big adventure.
Yeah, well, we probably could have managed with that trailer, but it was very cramped, and we were just not very happy.
If we were doing like tour the United States, we're gone for 6 months to a year, I would have been fine in the Highland Ridge.
Yeah.
But this is it. We're doing this long term, so
yeah, we don't have a house. Space. We don't have, other people. Oh yeah, we're renting our house or whatever. Yeah. So, anyways,
Chuck and Hurt says I'll sub and binge immediately. Stay safe and happy. See you soon.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I suggest checking our 3,000-mile road trip. Yep. That is a good one.
It's really the beginning.
Just jump in. And we've been doing videos for quite a while now.
The transition period started right about May, June-ish, and continued on.
Often let you guys be on your evenings, and
so shout out to Wayward Wags, shout out to X Marks the Spot, Linda. You are always welcome on our live streams. Truck and Hurts, thank you everybody. If I missed you, Dr. Wood, Philip, you're probably not on still.
I will have to check out what model that is. Grand Design. So
Grand Design 399 TH. All right, cool. We'll check it out.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.